Good morning, good morning. How do you write a resume? How do you write a CV? What are three things that you need to know and that will greatly impact the way your CV is seen and how effective it is? One of those things is to realise that the job of the CV is very specific and very fundamental, and is the key to making sure that your CV hits the mark. So this is James Foster and Careers Matter. So let's start with that first item, shall we? So the very first thing that you need to understand about a CV is what its job is. If you think that the CV is to tell people what you do, no. If you think that the CV is to tell people about your skills and experience, it's not. If you think that your CV is there to get you a job, you're mistaken. The one function, the single and only function of a CV is to get you an interview. That's all it's about. There is nothing else. In due process, the content of your CV may be used in an interview environment. Good morning, Angela. In due process, the content of your CV may be used in an interview environment and the details of it may be examined. So yes, all those other things to do with content, skills, experience, they need to be there, of course they do, but in writing your CV, the first thing you have to really understand is that the only purpose of it at the outset is to get you an interview for the job that you're applying for, however you're applying for that. And when you look at people's CVs, and in my job, I read CVs all the time. When you read a person's CV, the thing that you realise all too often is that they don't know and they don't appreciate that. They're trying to do something else with it. They're trying to tell people the whole world about everything that they've got and all the stuff that they've got. Now, if I go back in history for just a minute, that possibly was the original purpose of the CV, was to outline your life's curriculum, as it were, CV, curriculum vitae. So what you've done and achieved, and your awards and all of that sort of thing throughout your life. That was the origin of it. But that sort of has changed over time, and we've now got two terms that get interchanged: resume and CV. The resume was originally a one-page summary of your CV. Now they've really come together, and so what we have is a document that is the function of which, when you apply for a job in any capacity, is simply to tell the reader why they need to interview you. And that is it. That's all it's about. You could almost just throw most of it away and just write it in an email. Unfortunately, people want to see the rest of the detail going into it as well. And when people are sifting through CVs, they want to see all the skills and experience. Yes, all of that's important. It's all got to be there. But the purpose of the CV, the function, what it's about, is to get you an interview. So that's the very first thing that you need to appreciate about your CV. The second, and I'll come on to the second in a minute. I just want to go back to that first point again. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about exactly how you get yourself noticed for your CV at the moment. That's for another time, either in another podcast, videocast, sorry, or it's part of a document that will be made available with this broadcast. There will be a link at the end of this video that will tell you exactly how to get hold of a document that will talk to you about the components of a CV and how to write it. That's coming up later. So the second point that we need to appreciate about our CVs is, and it really, both of these points are really to amplify the first, which is to get you the job. The second point is it's got to be relevant. Does sound obvious, doesn't it, when I say it like that? Well, of course a CV's got to be relevant, but you'd be surprised just how many people do not write a relevant CV, or what they tend to do is they tend to write a CV and they then use that CV for all the jobs they apply for. They don't change it at all. It's the same document every time they push it out to a job. That's the one that goes out. And the problem with that is it then becomes the document, in order to cover all possibilities and eventualities, becomes too generic. It's not specific enough to the job that you're applying for. And so when somebody looks at your CV, they don't see the focused relevance to that job. They don't see how your CV is a match to their job. They see it could be aligned to several different jobs, but not aligned specifically to that job, which comes down to the fact that when you send your CV in for any job, whether it's an application online, or whether you're sending it via a friend, or whether you're speculatively sending it into a hiring manager or into a company, however you're doing it, you have to tailor that CV for the job that you are applying. And you cannot apply for multiple jobs with one CV. It's not possible. You should not do it. So you can't go into a company and go, well, I've seen 3 jobs here and I think I could do all of them. It doesn't work that way. Unless those 3 jobs are the same job, just for 3 different people, which can be possible with some, but that's a rarity. If you are a specialist in a particular area, that almost certainly can't be the case. So your CV should be focused very strongly on the job specification that you have seen, the advert, whatever it is that you're applying to, that is asking for the experience, for the capability that you have. You should be focusing everything in your CV to tell the reader why you are right for that role. You tailor your CV to every application. There is no other way. If you just send in a generic CV, you're applying for a generic job. It's as simple as that. And the third thing, again, this is all about making sure that the reader actually interest is held and maintained by your CV in the first place. So, and that is really making it succinct and readable. Again, does it sound obvious? It might sound obvious, but you should see some of the CVs that I see. I have seen CVs that are 20 odd pages long, literally. Ridiculous. Why anybody would ever think that somebody's going to read it, I don't know. But I have seen CVs that are that long. And that is because that particular person, every job he's been in, he's wrote it up and added to the CV, and he's wrote it up in detail. So all you've got is a succession of different jobs and projects that this person's been on. Irrelevant. It's irrelevant to the job he's applying for. It should be relevant to the job he's applying for, and it should be readable. The other thing that people do is they've been told, oh, we've got to get a CV on 2 pages or 3 pages. Personally, I think 3 pages is okay. 2 pages, yeah, that would be all right, but 3 pages is really okay. You don't want to extend beyond 3 pages. And what they try and do then is get the same amount of detail into 2 to 3 pages, and so therefore they reduce the font size to something that somebody needs a magnifying glass to read, or somebody with my eyes anyway, it becomes a difficult document to read, and it's all crammed in there, and you actually finding the bits that you want becomes difficult. And that's the other point. Finding the bits that you want to read, that's got to be that. If you look at your CV, the first page, the top 2/3 of the CV is the selling point part of the CV. That's the bit that's looked at first. It's the bit where you grab people's attention. that should have all the detail that you need that person to see about you. What difference you can make for their organisation should be there on that first page at the top 2/3. And again, with this, there'll be a link with this video that will take you to my document on how to, my CV writer's guide for professionals. The link for that will be with this video. So I think that's pretty much covered what I wanted to talk about this morning. The CV is such an important document, resume, such an important document, that it's something that you should really spend a lot of time, care and attention when writing. So many people don't. As I said, a lot of people just write it and forget it and think that they can go off and apply for job after job. A lot of people just don't really read the CV for themselves to understand the message that it's giving out, and that's such a mistake to make. And get your CV proofread. Go get somebody else to read it, because you almost certainly will have made grammatical errors. You may well have made hidden spelling mistakes, which whether and whether, for example, and there, those sorts of spelling mistakes. Always get it proofread. Always get somebody to read through it, and make sure, sometimes get it 2 or 3 people to do it, because errors in CVs are something that really do turn people off. So make sure your CV doesn't have the errors in it. Make sure your CV is readable and succinct. Make sure your CV is targeted to the job that you are looking to get. And most importantly, remember that the function of your CV is not to do anything other than get you noticed, grab the reader's attention so that they want to know more, and that's all. So this is James Foster and Careers Matters. If you're seeing this video on YouTube, would appreciate if you'd subscribe. If you're watching this on Facebook, then like and follow us. Thanks very much.